Yes. So thanks for showing that video. So to start and officially, to have a welcome, let me start with the thing which I'm comfortable in. एक छोटी सी शायरी है which I would like an attention of everybody, even the audience who are listening, कि मंजिलें हमसे हैं लेकिन मंजिलों से हम नहीं. मंजिलें हमसे हैं लेकिन मंजिलों से हम नहीं. ऐ मंजिल तू रुक वहीं, चल पड़े हैं हम पथ पर, और जिस पथ पर हम चल पड़े हैं पत्थर है वो मलमल नहीं. मंजिलें हमसे हैं लेकिन मंजिलों से हम नहीं. So with that attention, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Digital HR, a leading community in HR, I, Chandan Anand, Vice President of InnoSub Group and Digital HR, welcome everybody today in exciting forum of the webinar. The topic of discussion today is reimagining and reshaping the HR strategy to respond to business demands in hospitality sector. A virtual event webinar series. It has been organized since past 6 months in association with PTI as our knowledge partner, led by Ms. Runa Mehta. Under her mentorship, we have been able to bring key sectors like e-commerce, banking and finance, healthcare, IT, ITS, and hospitality, and various other sectors to this common knowledge sharing platform. We are creating this knowledge sharing platform and networking platform with who's who from the industry and the HR leaders from the industry, creating opportunities of collaboration. We are thrilled to inform that the webinar has got an overwhelming response and participation across the country. We are extremely happy and we are very thankful to all our partners, Knowledge Partner, PTI, Learning Partner, InnoSub Solution, Employee Branding Partner, Cobuzz, AI Partner, Orai Robotics, Community Partner, ASMA, all our esteemed panelists, and the attendees who are scheduled their time and thought to witness this event. We all are aware that we have caught off guard and faced numerous challenges as we adopt new normal. Organizations have, faced boldly the disruption and were quick to adopt technological and innovation practices and have been able to stabilize and bounce back quickly as the pandemic unfolded. I'm sure that the deliberation out of this would be, benefiting, and many of us would be aware of what these leading HR leaders of the country representing their renowned organizations are here and sharing their best practices with us. So without wasting much time, may I please invite my colleague Ashish Muglu to kindly introduce the speakers of the day. Ashish.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, Chandan, for giving me this wonderful opportunity. A warm welcome to everyone, respective panel, respective speakers, and respective attendees. Thank you so much for joining us today in this wonderful session. I would like to introduce, firstly, Mr. Kostover. He's a keynote speaker in this session, and he's the CEO and the Managing Director of Zoom Air India. So he has a decade long plus experience in the manufacturing of aircraft, financing, and the operating lease solution as well. And in addition to this, he was the CEO and the president of Hermani Accounts Company, Hong Kong based and New Age aircraft as well. Previously, there was the business hood and head the Sarak region of the Japan Fremont as well. So we are welcoming Kosto in this wonderful session. And second, we have a moderator of this session, Ms. Runa Mehta. She's the prominent HR professional and the leading fraternity in the community. She's the founder and the director of People Talent International. And she leads many HR professionals. She has 2 decades of experience in HR and OD, in fintech, IT, professional services, manufacturing and retail sectors in India, US and UK as well. She is a part of core committee of NHRG and Delhi NCR chapter and leads the social media and communication initiative in the HR fraternity as well. She is one of the taking recipients of several awards and honoring, including Women Social Media Influencer in the year of 2015 and 2016. She is one of the 100 Innovation HR Leader by World HRD Congress in 2017 and 2018. And she is one of the top 30 HR influencer in 2018 by Shram India. So let me take the introduction to our co-panelist, Ms. Sanchita Singh. She is the Chief Capability and Cultural Officer, from Pizza Hut restaurant for Asia Pacific from Yum brand. She has over 2 decades of rich experience in the field of HR and began her career as a personal officer with Titan Company Limited as well. She holds a bachelor degree in philosophy from Daulat Ram College, Delhi University, and a master in social work. Prior to work with the Yum, she held various opportunities and leadership positions with GE, including supply chain, the imagining subsystem, and healthcare as well in GE. So let me honor another speaker, Mr. Rishabh Tan. He is currently the HR director of IHG Group. He has close to 15-year experience in the areas of HR and hospitality. His specialty in development by training of F&B services, presentation, and organizing events as well. Mr. Tandon is a certified hospitality trainer by the Government of India and also held the position of training manager at the Oxford Premier as well. Let me take the honor to introduce Ms. Tanushri Mishra. She is the People Director of Ebinbev India. She has experience in HR field and she has a bachelor degree in mathematics from Delhi University as well. She also served as the Associate Director for Talent and Rewards at Ebinbev India. Prior to this, she also served various leadership roles and organizations such as Motors and Jaguar Land Rover as well. So we have Mr. Karanjeet Singh Uppal. He's heading the talent development and is one of the building leader awards and the team at KFC. And he is a BA in hospitality management and from IIHM Aurangabad. His specialties in the areas of leadership, technical and organizational development, in-house L&D, employee communication, talent and knowledge. So prior to the association with KFC, he was a senior resource in Hajjam 3G, where he was responsible for the capability development of 2,500 employees and was the solution led for the key as well. And last, we have Ms. Dipti Sheth. She is the Vice President and Head of HR at Thomas, which is a part of this SOT travel as well. She's taking care of more than 15 years of experience in the HR field. She has a bachelor degree in commerce from Narsibagh Manji College, and she prior to this she has held a various position in the Thomas Cook India general manager, as she is also taking care of associate vice president of HR and vice president of HR in the same organization as well. So a warm welcome to each and every speakers who are joining, and a warm welcome to attendees. So I would like to request to Runa ji, please facilitate, and I'm handovering this session to you so that you can start.
Thank you so much, InnoServe team. We're definitely missing Rahul. He always helps us to kickstart the this beautiful webinar conversation, and by now we have built the blog with help of various sectors. And thank you, Chandan, always leading us, guiding us, and giving us the platform with your excellent leadership. And you had been very competently handling month over month, sector wise, this web sessions. And I think we are learning a lot together because we got excellent speakers from each sector. And Ashish, you are a absolutely fantastic inclusion in this group, which is growing and connecting digitally to build the blocks with the help of all these eminent speakers. And we are initiating a few more, knowledge platform besides webinar, which will eventually help to connect with the audience and also build the blog. I think my journey would not be today, would not be complete if we don't start and have a absolutely inspiring speech from Costa, who is our keynote speaker today. So I will take charge after Kaustav does his keynote speech, and then we will have a roundtable conversation. So over to Kaustav, when we are all ears to learn from you.
Thanks a lot, Runa. Thanks, Chandan. Thanks, Ashish. I think the digital HR and the digitalization of the HR is changing the world. What COVID did to the world is the reverse faction is what has been done by the human resources through the digital media. And that's the reality. That's the truth. That's what we should live with it. With that, I should start my introduction. There has been a little introduction of mine. I think 20 years of my experience was just moved out by mistake. That's not a problem. I've got 30 years, 3 decades of experience in the aviation industry, in the hospitality. Started off as a chef way back with the Kempinski Hotels after my hotel management in 1990. And since that, I've been working all through. Since 2000, I have moved into aviation. I was the Chief Operating Officer for Air Sahara and started the international operation. I have been the founder and the CEO for MDLR Airlines, which operated for 4 years, the first regional airline in the country. Jackson Airlines moved back to Silk Air in Singapore, which I formulated. So in Sahara, about nearly 9,800 people reporting directly, which is quite a large numbers. Same goes with MDLR, Silk Air. They came back to the country, started a business of my own called Olivia, which we got some massive awards and others as the most luxury coach service in the country. I have my business out of Thailand, which is leasing of aircrafts, and a full-fledged DMC called the Benetton Travels. And in 2016, again, same pain of starting an airline came back. So funded and started Zoom Air, India's scheduled airline with a regional aircraft. We operate a fleet of about 5 Bombardier CRJ aircraft based out of Delhi, employing more than about 180 people. Surprisingly, from 2016, when we started and operating started from 2017, till date, our attrition rate has been less than 2%. Practically 11 of my girls, they got just married and left. Besides that, we have not lost a single person till date. So the COVID did a lot of damage to the whole world. But I clearly say that this is one of the airlines. We are the only airline within the country which is completely debt-free. We have a zero borrowings from the bank or anyone. All through the COVID, we retained all our staff, paid them salaries, and delayed by about a month. I'm sorry about it. But paid salaries to everyone, and not even a single peso of cuts. That's what we maintain. The reason is very simple. If you don't invest into your own resources, what do you expect when the business booms? That's what today the digital HR, the HR systems in the country is teaching you. That what we ignored always, that of face-to-face meetings, interviews, and others are passing, complete passing these days. We are into the hospitality world, wherein definitely the documentation checks and others require a lot of checking for my pilots or for my cabin crew or even the airport staff. But the way things are, the way the modernization has happened, the entire systems, policies, procedures has been changed by a lot of companies. I have been doing some research and then on your company, and I was absolutely amazed the kind of things you guys are doing. I'm sure there are so many of them. And our sector, primarily the hospitality, I'm sure I've been seeing a lot of people from Yum Food, which is, again, we work very closely with them in our aviation sector, or KFC and others. We've been very fond because of my 2 children. What has been happening as an airline is completely different than what we are seeing in the hospitality. There is still a retrenchment happening in the hospitality sector. Market is still leaping back into originality, but we as aviation never stopped. When it was peak of COVID in the month of April or May, we converted our aircrafts into cargo aircrafts. We moved supplies, all of us. We moved supplies from China. We moved supplies all across the globe into the country, moved it within the country. So the same human capital which was there waiting at the airport, doing services to you as a full service carrier, converted themselves wearing the PPE kits and doing the services. So the spirit of the human mind in our hospitality sector, may it be hotels or the airlines, have not changed. Nothing has changed. What has changed is the way we interact with the people. What has changed is how we recruit. What has changed is how we know the person sitting across the desk and how they interact. This is only what has changed in the world today. Our businesses, if today the hotels have lost their occupancy and have come down to a RevPAR of what, 20%, 25%, they will boom back. Aviation in the country, which was going into a load factor of 10%, has already touched about 64% as we speak today. So the world is changing. It's just reshaping our way that things are. There were times We all dependent on a black color telephone and we used to pick it up and say hello to our families. I mean, how many of us, even on a Diwali, call up our friends and say hello? A small emoji does the work for us, right? That's the world. That's the world we are in. It is a digitally connected world. And I really don't want to take much of the words from other people who are such a, like eminent panelists, which I see here. But with aviation, nothing has changed as far as we are concerned. A few days back in the LinkedIn, there was a big article of mine, about 3 days back, wherein we started recruiting. Surprisingly, yesterday from 6 o'clock in the morning till 12 in the night, we received 3,350 CVs. Yes, I'll send you some snapshots. 3,000 CVs. Today, tomorrow, and Monday, we had the interviews. People have been lining up. The only question what we said that, yes, you line up, that's fine. Do your medical test, bring the report, come with a PPE kit or a mask, do the interviews at a distance. One room you sit, one room the interviewer is sitting. So that's what has changed. Nothing has changed beyond that. Life will go on. We as hospitality leaders, we as hospitality owners will continue to give to the world the best what it is. What we really need is an extremely strong digital human resources organizations and platforms to come and do the work for us. But you just can't do the hiring left, right, and center with meeting people. There'd be good candidates. They're in Chennai. You can't call them to Delhi for an interview. There'll be people even way surprisingly about 100 kilometers or 200 kilometers away. You might not be able to call them. And the day you might be calling them, they might just not be feeling well. That should not be a reason for rejecting a candidate, a good candidate. World is changing, let's change us. And with that, I move it back to Runa. And from there, we take it on. Thank you, Runa.
Thank you, Kaustav. Please stay with us because I think a lot of points which you mentioned would add a lot of flavor when we would have a roundtable conversation with the other panelists. Very, very interesting stuff you mentioned, Costa, especially when you and I are conversing. And today you mentioned that in spite of all odds, you haven't reduced the salary or done any salary cut, and within your purview of operation, you continued the journey. And we all know that how hospitality sector, the range we have here as a panelist, we are very, very lucky to have them from different sectors. We have from airlines, hotels, restaurants, and also service organization like SOTC. And I would love to learn from Tanushri how, her organization operates, because your organization sounds very interesting. Bev, I think you're in beverage. So this range, I would, think that our audience would learn immensely. And I would again reflect with the conversation I had with, InnoServe team, especially with Chandan, Ritesh, and Rahul, that let's bring in some conversation during these web sessions to encourage our audience, because Kaustav talked about hiring, quality hiring, and also when you get the point that 3,500 CV, is it good or bad? Because is it a sign that there are a lot of job losses, that's why people are appearing in interviews? Or is it that the whole gamut of hiring context has changed? So we would put some light with the help of our panelists on the talent acquisition and how you're reshaping your talent in your organization to structure around your business requirement. I think in our journey of last few months of web session, this is the first one which is the most affected probably as an industry, because all the other industries we talked about, e-commerce, ITA, some of them were essentials like healthcare. But I think today when we are here and we are kind of mulling over all the changes we had gone through as an industry, it would be the most interesting stuff. And I was encouraged by Deepthi when she said, things are looking up. Runa, we are all geared up to visit office. Please give your all those fantastic anecdotal points to our audience, because they're hungry to see the light in the end of the tunnel. उनको बहुत सारा encouragement चाहिए, उनको बहुत सारी आपकी energy चाहिए, so that they can look at next month, last month of the year, and this 2020 and 2021 should look very bright, of course being balanced. So with that, I would like to request Sanchita, and I know her fabulous journey. She's one of the top leaders I had been following for all more than a decade, and based in Singapore now and doing great contribution. Sanchita, we are all ears. We would love to learn from your experience.
Hey, thank you so much, Runa, for such kind words, and to the entire team. In addition to what has already been spoken about me, there's one additional role that I would want to call out, is that I'm mother of twins and who are turning 16. So I think that will speak volume. So now let me start with talking about mindset shifts. What I really want to say is that each one of you would agree that this year has been truly unprecedented year. And what we have experienced, I think for last 100 years, this kind of a pandemic has never been experienced. And for sure, what we have experienced is first time that we would have ever experienced in our entire career or lifetime. And I'm sure all of us will wish that this is the last that we will experience in our lifetime. So with mindset, what I do want to call out that whether you are hiring, whether you are grooming a leader, whether you are thinking about keeping yourself positive and ready to get interviewed for a new job, this is one thing which will absolutely come handy to each one of us. So to begin with, let me share that there are 5 key mindset shifts which we have experienced. Now, this is based on a real-time experience of having dealt in entire Asia Pacific region with some 22 countries, right from New Zealand up till China, what we are hearing. And this is also based on research. So what are these 5 key mindset shifts that we are seeing? The first one is care. The second one is agile. Third, flexible. Fourth, disrupt. And finally, the most important one is the mindset shift of trust and empower. Now, as I will go into each one of them, I would also call out that I have seen these getting added in our own new habits of how we conduct ourselves as an individual and also how we run the business. Now, let me move on to the first one. Let me talk about care. We all know that care is something that used to be very important for us. And then somewhere in between, all of us as HR professionals have become that strategic business partner. And not to say that we don't care, we absolutely care, but somewhere care was taken for granted. Now, what has happened in this year is all of us went on work from home. But who was still standing and serving the customer? It was the frontline employees. They stood absolutely there representing the brand and ensuring that the customer gets the best of the best. And to make that happen, they put themselves front and center. So what that really taught us is that if there is one thing that we all need to put our heart and soul into, then it is to ensure that we really care for our employees. That's the big part that I want to call. So there is a mindset shift that has happened, the mindset shift that has happened on care. Now, as we care for employees, it has also become important that we truly celebrate them as the real heroes of the business, because they are the ones who have taught us is the reason why we exist. Not because of the great branding that we do, not because of the great products that we make. Of course, all those are important. But end of the day, the rubber hits the road when these people make the product or these people serve our customers, and that's when the brand comes alive. So the need to celebrate is absolutely paramount, and these are the real heroes. The third one is communicate. Now, everyone knows about it, the importance of communication. But what really took turn this year is how do you communicate, not by calling everybody in one room, but communicate differently and yet engage and motivate. That has been the big one. Otherwise, our minds have always said that the only way to communicate is by getting people together, and then you create energy. So I think that has been the other important one. So with that, I'm going to move to the second mindset shift, which is all about being agile. Now, we all know that during this year, a lot of plans were made as we were entering 2020, and all those plans went away. So what really happened was we had to come up with plan A, B, and C. And we were learning and we were delivering as we were going. There was no time for us to say that, well, this is something I have already done it, let me just copy paste. No, that wasn't happening. So that kind of an agility is so, so important. And then the entire part is about, being constantly there to understand and preempt anything from happening or going in the wrong way, or even preempt and make things happen in the right way. So that's another thing that we all learned, along with the speed of action, that how do you maintain agility, and don't let agility to come on our ability to act with speed. So with this, I'm going to move to the third, which is all about flexibility. Now, if I were to say that if there is one thing that I have learned this year, big, it is about being flexible. Now, be it being flexible for our customers through contactless delivery, or to be flexible in making changes for our team members to make it easier for them, or it could be just the fact of being flexible to hold on, to go back to our own comfort zone and saying that, you know what, this is the way I do things. So truly becoming boundaryless, truly working with complete flexibility and ensuring that we execute on plan is something which is the point number 3. Moving on to the fourth is all about disruption. Now, COVID has truly taught us that this is, the world is really getting disrupted. A lot of positive disruption has also happened, which perhaps it would have taken us a decade to happen, but the shift happened tremendously. And all of us became more and more digital. We became more and more data driven. And in doing that, we found our own niche and area, how to be distinctive. Now this is something that be it through getting those robots to serve, or creating some big news on getting drone to deliver, whatever those could be. But all of us have really had our own distinctive play and have been disruptive in all the areas of doing the business. I can tell you, for example, that I have been doing Zoom 101s, and I have been having career conversations all through virtually. I have done full store training virtually. So a team in Cambodia that we got trained in a store in Calcutta. Now, who would have ever thought that a store training can happen something like this? But we did it. I mean, this is something which is not thought of, even for us, despite being in business for so long. The last, but perhaps the most important one, is trust and empower. If I were to ask you all that how many of you did work from home last year, I'm sure hardly a couple of hands would go up. But everything dramatically changed this year. And for it to really work, the fulcrum or the base was trust and empower. If we would not trust our employees, and if we would not empower the teams, there was no way that this year business would have happened. No way. So what really happened is all the thinking, all the decision making, the control, everything got decentralized. And the organizations which have delivered on the number, and the organizations which have stood to deliver as per the promise to the customer, has been the ones who had the teams trusted and empowered. And I'm sure this is something that all of us can reflect and say that which are those organizations. We can rate our own organization. and say that, well, our numbers did not happen because there was only one leader who was trusted to make decisions. And hence, in this situation, it did not happen. But wherever the entire teams were trusted and empowered, the work has happened. So finally, what I would like to end up by saying is all about being an ACE leader. And what does ACE leader stands for, or ACE leadership stands for, is being authentic, compassion, and having the empathy. As leaders with those mindset, if we can be ACE, which is authentic, true to who we are, and really stand for what we believe in, having compassion, courage to lead, but compassion to show, and complete empathy, because this is unprecedented time. And in this time, if we truly, truly want to stand out as leaders, stand out as organization, stand out as brand, I think these are the things which will really help us differentiate. So that's it from my side. Thank you so much.
I think I'm kind of sitting back and reflecting on this beautiful conversation you just initiated. And the ACE leader, of course, we had been speaking about for a while, but how does it link with your industry, and how do you actually take the journey? That's key. And I'm sure we have loads of conversation around how you supported the psychological aspect, the mental health, and various initiatives you took this time, and ensured that you sit on the driving seat. That's my favorite line, that HR on driving seat during the pandemic era. And I think loads of you had been doing that, but the most important part, the execution, which you did. And I would request now Deepti to bring forth her experience and her journey in 2020. Please unmute.
Hi,
Yep.
am I audible?
Absolutely. Please go on.
Thanks, Rona. So, pleasure to be part of this panel, which is so diverse, especially in the field of hospitality. Like the co-panelists mentioned, I think this is one of the industries that has been impacted the most. Having said that, within the hospitality sector, the industry that I come from is travel and travel related services. So I belong to SOTC Travel Services, which is a part of the larger Thomas Cook Group in India, as well as parts of the world. The pandemic, if I have to say, has impacted the travel services probably the first, much before the lockdowns were imposed globally as well as within our country. And while in India and globally, we see that travel bubbles are being created. The rebound, if we can say, of the industry is still some months away, is what we feel. Having said that, is it something that there is a standstill? Yes, in the first few weeks there was a standstill. Um, uh, Probably in the month of Feb is when we started preparing for the lockdown in a huge way. And a lot of we anticipated the kind of situation that was going to come up. A lot of planning happened way before the lockdowns were imposed within our own country as well, and a lot of processes were moved to a digital platform. Team members were asked to start working from home even before the lockdowns were imposed all across the country. And so that kind of preparedness and agility was something that we had to plan and ensure that we acted fast. We took decisions really, really fast and quickly, because when the ground is shaky and is shifting, the only option that anybody would be left with, and for organizations like us, was to be agile and to make sure that we were there for the customers when there was all hell breaking loose everywhere. Because servicing the customers would still remain the priority, irrespective of what the market situation was at that point in time. So I think what the pandemic has taught our organization and specifically our industry is the importance of ensuring that we are agile in the way that we are structured in our organization. Be it the way that we cater to our clients, be it our products and services that you offer, the lines of businesses that we're operating in, the way that our hierarchies are structured, the way that our teams are built to cater to organizations, in whichever which way, um, that is something that was really, really key, and it helped the kind of decisions that we took at that point in time really helped us, journey through this entire lockdown period, and has helped us plan for the way that we are intending to rebound or restart, as we like to call it. Um, our branches have opened a couple of months back, and we are there because while digital and virtual reality or connecting on video conferences is the new norm, having said that, in the kind of industry or the kind of work that we do, a face-to-face interaction and building the confidence with the consumers or customers again, and to encourage people to travel again, is something that only comes with that face-to-face connect. It builds the trust and the confidence again. So with all the safety precautions and all the guidelines in place, we have started our branches way back, and we intend to, of course, resume work like I mentioned earlier, with a lot of enthusiasm very soon. We see the demand and the enthusiasm for travel coming back really fast. So this is, like I say, there is a time to recover. There is a time to bounce back, and I'm sure very soon this industry is going to be thriving again, just the way that we had been thriving before the pandemic struck us. Having said that, agility of the organization, not only internally, but also encouraging the way that we use technology today. Um, Digitization is a very loosely used terminology, I think, across industries everywhere. But I think the pandemic has really shown us the mirror in terms of how are we truly digital today? Are we really using technology to its fullest? And where all can we improve it further so that it um, aids the way that we're working in this hybrid model of partial maybe working from home, partial maybe going to office. We don't know when next which area is going to be put into a lockdown. So this kind of uncertainty that exists today, and which I believe probably will go on for some time till we have the vaccines being rolled out. So in this kind of an uncertain situation where you don't know what the next day is going to really bring, in despite of the best planning that anybody could do, um, use of technology becomes a lot more important. And I think some of the things that we had done way back before the pandemic struck was to move to a more digital platform. So a lot of our finance related processes, especially in our shared services functions, have been bought automated. So the payment processing, etc., gets done automatically with the use of technology, which aided our efforts, because when our teams couldn't come to work, the bots did the job. And that helped us tide through some time till we figured out a work from home mechanism, and enable everybody to work a lot more easily from home. So though some initiatives like that, and including HR, even if we look at HR and the way that we function, I'm sure everybody was either encouraged or forced, whichever word that we want to use, to start using the virtual world more for training, reskilling, retraining our workforces so that they can take on the responsibilities that they were expected to do while working from home in whichever condition that they were. So I think use of technology was something that was a big learning for us as an industry. Um, and we're now geared up to see how we can sustain the growth and the learnings that we've had in this pandemic situation to when we are really back, facing the customers once again. So yeah, those are my two bits from the travel industry. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.
Deepti, I think a lot of light you've thrown being part of the travel industry, and in one end, Kaustav is from airlines, and you are connecting us to the requirement of agility, whereas Sanchita gave that point in a very different perspective. And both of you are trying to, in one end, talk about that how to respond to this current situation, and Kaustav also had given that challenging, environment to give us some kind of capability to understand how do we connect the dots. Whereas Sanchita guided us to build on the trust deficit and empower people. Here you are talking about, no, do not worry, even if, this industry, recently Bill Gates talked about the travel industry is going to operate only 50% capacity. And here you are, you are giving such fabulous encouragement. That's what is HR. And I think that's the need of the hour. And most interesting part of such useful conversation which are having is to now root ourselves to hotels, because that is another segment of hospitality wherein Rishabh probably would be helping us to understand the way you had progressed this year. And I'm sure loads of challenging stuff, but you would probably help us to know and learn what you did differently. So Rishabh, over to you.
So team, a very good evening to one and all. And thank you to all my co-panelists for pumping in a lot of positive energy. This is much, much needed. And like some of you, even I did my initial journey was hotel management, pass out of IHM Mumbai, worked initially in operations, then into training, and then into HR. Now taking care of IHG Hotels, which is Intercontinental Hotels Group. We are operating hotels by the brand names of Holiday Inn, Intercontinental, Crown Plaza, and Holiday Inn Express. These are the 4 brands which are active in India. So even there was a very, very mix and match year, because as we all know, hotels are definitely as impacted as travel, right? But the unique thing that we saw was there were few hotels, despite being the worst year for hospitality, we did 100% of occupancies. Now, these are hotels which were catering to the Vande Bharat business, or these are the hotels which were taken over by a shipping company, let's say in Mumbai or in Calcutta, or these are the hotels which were temporarily being taken over by a hospital chain. So there's a huge, a kind of a buffet of hotels operating at a 0% occupancy to operating at 100% occupancy. Now, the good news that I am seeing is, and I'll be very practical and honest with you, I am based out of a hotel which is in Greater Noida. Like the way our PM keeps saying that, there's a focus on India, business moving to India. So we are seeing some business from South Korea, where they are one of the largest conglomerate in South Korea. They are shifting their business from Guangzhou in China to Greater Noida in India, which brings in again close to 100% of occupancy business levels for the next 3 to 4 months. And fortunately, as hoteliers, this is our social wedding season. So that is giving us a good ray of hope. But as we all have learned, the VUCA world, this is the first time we are experiencing the VUCA world. There are times when we are seeing the hotel is getting full. There are weddings that we have taken, which is 100 packs, 150 packs. Now suddenly we saw that Delhi hotels cannot take more than 50 guests, in a social gathering. So those kinds of uncertainties are looming in here and there. But coming to the theme, which is reimagining and reshaping the HR, what I personally believe, there are certainly some new roles which will become structured in the years ahead. So there are hotel chains which used to keep a position called the hygiene manager. But now what we are seeing is, even if you're a standalone hotel or a chain which never had a food quality manager, there is a demand for hygiene manager or a food safety or a food quality manager. Every unit is ready to pump in the money there, because that is going to be the next mandatory requirement. Also, in the current times when the sales calls are not happening, technology is playing a big role. The hotel where I'm based out of, which is Crown Plaza in Greater Noida, we opened a virtual experience center. So for example, I can share a Google link with each one of us. You can click on the link and you can experience a 4D view of the entire hotel. So there are events that we have closed with the advantage of virtual experience center. So usually pre-COVID eras, hotels were operating 70 to 80% of occupancy levels. There were times when the guests were coming, they wanted to see banquet hall, but they couldn't visit because the hotel is full. So we actually started this in January, February with an idea that in case if the guest is unable to see the actual venue, he can go to the virtual reality center and experience the hotel. So with the virtual reality center coming in, the usual designation of a sales manager, we might see a sales experience manager who is helping you in the entire journey from the inquiry till the closure of business coming in. Usually hotel companies were having tie-ups with the marketing agency, but in the current era, we are realizing that the graphic designer will become a part of the standard menu. So these are few new designations which we will see become structured, in the times ahead. Now, the sad reality is, yes, during the impacted period, which is from March till now, our salaries have become from fixed to variable. So there are hotels which are operating at 50% of the original salary levels. There are hotels which have gained businesses, then they have come up to around 80% or 90% of the original salaries. But the good part that the company is doing is based on the job band. So from a junior level associate till an executive level, the aim is to bring the person at 100% salaries, but managers and above are still bearing the cut. So the cut percentage varies. Some hotels are around 50%. Some hotels have already come up to 80 to 90% of the original salaries. So that's the sad lesson learned, that even the fixed cost can become a variable cost, but that's the art to survive, because there are two choices. Either you have limited people or you have limited salary. And we all know for a fact that hospitality and travel is a part of a lifestyle. So it is definitely going to be there. I personally wanted to visit restaurants on all these special occasions, on leave special occasions, even on weekends. But it is just that because of the pandemic fear, the limit, we ourselves have put in the limit. But the moment the pandemic is well controlled with vaccine showing a ray of hope, I'm sure we all are eager to connect, in person, doing transaction, meeting people face to face. That's a different joy. Though all the hospitality companies, all the hotel companies are saying that by Q3, we will see coming closer to the pre-COVID business levels. So we are sure that the first half of 2021 will continue to be challenging. There are hotels, as I said, have already picked up 100% of occupancies. There are project movement happening from China to India, which is a great signal. But there are hotels which are still facing challenge, because there are quite a few hotels, and as we all know, that 5-star hotels can only run when there's international travel, as in that's around 50% of the business. Right? Though domestic tourism is showing a ray of hope, all our destination hotels, which are resorts, on a Saturday, Friday, Saturday and Sunday, they're already packed. All our Delhi NCR hotels on these wedding dates, there is absolutely no space available. So those are good signs, And the best thing that as hotel fraternity, what we are looking at is in our is to work on a salary restoration plan. That's one of the top KPO for us, as in top KRA for us, is to bring people to full salaries. Hotels which can afford to bring people to full salaries, we are bringing them now. Hotels which cannot afford, we are bringing them by 10% each month, so that basis of the business levels, salaries are restored. As my co-speakers mentioned, there's a huge focus on the learning and development. So there's one unique program which was launched by IHG Global. It was I Am Here. This is our mental wellness program. Though the subject of mental wellness was still in an infancy stage, but I think due to the COVID time, now from an associate level, people understand mental wellness. They have experienced challenges. So there's a beautiful caption line of the program that we have. It says, "It's okay not to be okay. It's absolutely okay not to be okay." And so there are two levels, in which we are getting certified. So one is called as the tribe member. So I can become a mental wellness tribe ambassador. And there is the ambassador, which is trained to tackle colleagues on mental wellness. Though SZN IT has also done the tie-up with the specialists, on the employee wellness programs. But this unique training program, which was always there, but this got a real boost this year. It says, "I am here," and as I said, it's absolutely okay not to be okay. I may be our area director HR, but the fear is always there, because that is hospitality business. But again, the confidence is also there that we will come back and we'll come stronger. But the next 6 months will be something similar, though on a graph which is improving. But Q3 is when we are thinking normalcy happening in hospitality and travel. So that is it from my side.
Excellent. I think a lot of range of insights you gave, Rishabh. In one end, you talk about the challenges. You also gave us those incremental change the hotel industry has done, responding to the market, knowing that how things are moving, and probably there was a time entire hotel industry was thinking whether things would go back to the normalcy of previous era. I think for normalcy for us has totally changed. And, the service industry like SOTC and other MICE companies are also, trying to collaborate. And I was speaking to the CHRO, one of the top online, company. I won't, share in detail about their name. They're saying that they moved from online, booking service to e-commerce and to a absolutely different industry. And loads of friends talked about from your industry that how hotel were collaborating with healthcare industry to build the capacity of the hospitals. I think the way we are introducing innovation and connecting again to agility of Deepti and Sanchita when they mentioned. I think Sanchita's all the points are resonating in my mind, and I'm also being encouraged by Kaustav's initial speech. But I think still the way you would share the global and local, especially when you said VUCA. The meaning of VUCA has totally changed now, and we are battling with it for last 2 decades already. But then does it really matter what VUCA we talked then? So I think, Tanushree, why don't you give your insight, and we would love to know about your organization and how you're operating, and what, how you also converted challenges to opportunities.
Sure.
So
Thank
your
you,
thoughts,
Reena.
please.
Thank you so much, Runa. First of all, would really like to say thank you to all the panelists and everyone who's on this webinar. It's a great opportunity to learn from each other. My name is Tanushree. I lead the people team for AB InBev for India. AB InBev, I don't think many of you would have heard of this name, but I would like to, believe that you've heard of our brands. So we are one of the biggest beer company in the world. So we have Budweiser in our portfolio, Hoegaarden, and the lovely beer that resonates with the virus as well, Corona. And that's how our year started this time, that we had a virus floating in the air, which was very, very close to what one of our biggest brands is today as well. So that was an additional thing that we had to manage in addition to all of you guys are doing. So we are not exactly hospitality, but beer, is a drink that is most enjoyed with your friends, your families, in a setting that is most likely more social. So as we also moved towards the lockdown and everything else that everyone was going through, it was very, very tough for everyone to realize that from tomorrow, there is no workplace, there is no place to go and consume beer, and there is potentially no business for some days, right? So that's a very difficult thing that everyone had to encounter. But I think for me, the biggest learning has been the resilience of our teams, who were very, very similar to what Deepti said and Sanchita said, who were there on the front line, managing, putting themselves at risk to take care of objectives which are larger than any of us. So to me, that just showed that people are made of immense strength, and while engagement, etc., is a score, these are the true times when you see what employees truly feel for their organizations, and how can we truly leverage this strength by working together. I think that it has brought all of us closer to the larger cause uh, in this period as well. The other things I think that happened was, which was such a pleasant, I won't say a surprise, but it was a very pleasant gift from all our colleagues, was the obsession to learn. I think it was unbelievable for me. There were days, and I'm sure all of you will resonate as HR professionals, where you literally have to drag people to do trainings. This was a time where we had enough volunteers, enough leaders who would stand up and say, let's use this time, let's not get a crisis go to waste. And at the same time, equal participation, where people were running to be the first person to complete or be the first person to do maximum modules. And technology was a big savior. There were people who were asking their kids to teach them how to log on to LMS. So it was very cute and very encouraging to see that the tech revolution that all of us were talking about is not dated, it's right here. I would also like to call out on the thing that has changed forever. I think Sanchita spoke a lot of things of how things have changed. I think we'll never take safety for granted anymore. So that's been the biggest shift for us, that how can we ensure, even in a post-COVID world, even in a world where there will be no virus, we do not lose that sight of how vulnerable we are to forces beyond us. And the second thing is to respond very fast. So on our beer brands, we've had all kinds of crazy things where and there were times where a lot of brands stand for sports. There were no sports events going on. So how can we still be relevant to our consumers? How can we give them the product in the right way? Were the least of the challenges. And there was answer in innovation, there was answer in technology, which I think people adapted very well. To me, I think the journey has been tough, but all of us have come a long way. And that's the thing that we like to remember for the year that's gone by. And I really hope we don't settle into complacency and keep this agility, keep this resilience going on as we move forward. So that's it from me, Runa, to introduce, and looking forward to chatting more.
Excellent. I think all of you are talking about the way you have responded and the speed and the new way of working, new structure, new and the reshape. We are actually using RE as a common word. That maybe a terminology suddenly has come up: reskilling, reshaping, rebuilding, restructuring. Actually, restructure we have used a lot, but I think in current scenario, the restructure is again, used very differently. And I love the way you say, don't take safety for granted anymore. That was beautiful. And when you said that, about your vulnerability, I think the way Rishabh put it, that it is okay not to be okay. I think that was such a fantastic way of saying, that how to accept and, produce what is the need of the hour. Karanjit, actually, because of your organization, we survived amongst the essential services and products. The very first one, the trusted one, was KFC. And I remember, doing the first order when we moved from lockdown to new era, was like, KFC भी तो order कर सकते हैं, वो बड़े high quality and clean है, I think so. Probably your organization had to respond very differently to this world of essential services. So loads of stuff we would love to learn from you, Karanjit. So all to you. Bataiye.
Sure, and thank you so much, everyone. Last week of March, a lot of months ago, we were sitting comfortably. And the very next day, around 25th or 26th of March, customers stopped visiting our restaurants. And we said, oh, never mind, we'll all get okay. It's just a blip in the radar. And all of a sudden, sales went south, straight to zero. And our number one instinct was, maybe there is something more what we can do about it, and let's not wait. So, good evening, guys. My name is Karanjeet. I head learning and development for Kentucky Fried Chicken with one of the leading franchises of India. And today I'm here to discuss what we did, how we did, and more interestingly, it became a journey of balancing ambition with compassion. That is what we learned. And let me also assure you, in this entire journey, the easiest decision which any organization could have made was, in the absence of sales, let's let go of people, which a lot of companies, including KFC, did not choose to take that decision. We carried our people with us. And we learned a lot also with this entire decision. First thing first, we had to be very clear what we are dealing with. So come April, sales were not there. People were scared. There was no direction what to do. Safety was definitely trying to figure out what do we do. That is where we were in the month of April, confusing messages through media and other channels. Slowly and slowly, being a global brand, we understood from other countries how are other countries dealing with this pandemic. For example, China. So we learned from China also what more can be done. China is a different landscape. It's a different business in absolute size if I compare it with India. So what did we do? We tried to see, should we replicate the China experience to India? We wanted to, but we did not. We understood our environment first. What is making us, coming to our restaurant? What will make our customers come to our restaurant? And a harsh reality struck us in KFC. Nobody wants to even leave their homes. Everybody is scared. Okay, can we take the restaurant to their homes? So everybody is aware of delivery, different channels and everything. We further worked on the technology platform. And let's bear in mind, 20 years ago, when we were dealing with the Y2K transition from 1999 to 2000, we were very scared. What will happen to our systems and computers? 20 years on, a very similar experience, but a very different situation altogether, the pandemic. And let me remind everyone, this pandemic is global, but similar diseases have happened last 10 to 15 years, including the financial crisis of 2008 and 2009. So companies did learn out of this. And even in this pandemic, companies, industries are learning also a lot out of it. So come June, technology was there. Customers would come back and say, and it's a younger lot, it's a young generation. And India is a blessed country wherein the consumers are fairly young. More than 500 million of our consumers are very young consumers, and they want to experience different brands altogether. So they would come and tell us that how soon can we experience KFC in the way which we would experience the month of January and February. We looked at our product lines. We looked at the availability of our people who could come down to our restaurants and service the restaurants. Even employees were not feeling comfortable. Of course, it's a pandemic. We do not know how it operates. So the safety had to come in first. So all the playbook, the SOPs, everything was created, how to wear a mask and everything. And for us, it was, how easy or how difficult is it to wear a mask? Just wear it over here, cover your nose, your mouth, and it's done. Believe me, this was the most difficult thing to do, to wear a mask for 8 to 9 hours continuously and to work. Just imagine employees, they're very young employees, 19 to 21 age group. And all of a sudden, in the month of February, they're feeling so happy while working KFC. Now we've given them masks to work for 8 to 9 hours. That's what the impact of the pandemic was. It's very, very easy just to say that, use existing processes, just go with the flow and do it. But the person who would actually come to the store, actually come to the company, into the field, just reaching the restaurant, the way the employees did it is absolutely hats off. And the kind of feedback mechanisms which the teams had worked out to speak and connect with the employees, it was something as simple as leveraging WhatsApp. We learned 1 or 2 lessons also out of it. For example, not every 20 to 21-year-old in India in 2020 carries a smartphone. It came as a surprise to us because we were operating only from tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3 cities. But it came as a surprise. So roughly 95% of them were carrying smartphones. What about the remaining 5%? So we address that also. No, not by giving smartphones to them, but trying to understand how soon is it that they can come back and join us. And the immense faith the employees had in the brand, in the company, to come back and join us. They would just come back and tell us only one thing, that, we might not remember everything because, day in, day out, we're used to a certain way of working. Can you please help us to revise it? A kind of a refresher or a training module or something. Now, no classroom program, nothing. Technology is there, everything is there. Now, all of a sudden, you can't take your brands and processes through a WhatsApp mode. So what else can we do? We are all using this platform called Zoom. And in the last 1 hour or 1 hour, 15 minutes, Zoom has got tremendous functionality. For example, the reactions button. For example, the chat button. And through the team members we learned. And these are the 20, 21-year-olds who said that, even listening for more than 10 minutes can be a bit of a stretch for us. We are used to a 1 or 2 minute YouTube video, not longer than that. And now somebody speaking for 10 minutes, my God. We created bit-sized videos. Through the VPN, it was sent across. Whatever Zoom technologies we have, the Microsoft Teams technology we have, we utilized, or rather overused, the polling tool of yes, no, are you good to go, not good to go. We overutilize the chat window, which I'm currently seeing people are responding to it and asking and raising questions right now. We overutilize the breakout groups wherein to initiate separate parallel conversations, let's say over a 3 to 4 hour review window. And we brought in so much of interactivity that all of a sudden, Zoom and Microsoft Teams platform became a reason for us to not only to survive, but to thrive. In today's date, we launch numerous products and to train people, to make them understand how is it that you serve to customers, we leverage these tools. Now, customers today are coming back. And believe it or not, everyone who is listening on this Zoom channel, customers are literally virtual journalists. They actually come back and tell us, I went to your store. I felt very comfortable. After 10 minutes, I, as a customer, did not feel comfortable of wearing my mask back, because after eating food, who would like to cover their nose and mouth? But that's the way social distancing is, all about. Prescription, right? Customers themselves came back and gave us feedback across the country in multiple cities. I'm talking about tier 3, 4, and tier 5, not even tier 1 and 2. Customers came back and told us through feedback, just give us a polite reminder when we are visiting your restaurants, please wear your mask. Yes, it is listed properly outside your restaurant, but inside also please put it, because there are times when we come in with our families, we sit on chairs marked with a cross, but somehow we tend to forget that even if we're enjoying the experience of eating hot and tasty food, we still have to continue following the social distancing norms. So it was a two-way, street. And we learned a lot from our customers and from our employees. It's a two-way journey. From an organization perspective, we developed more leaders. The way we looked at talent management processes is now very different as compared to 9 months ago. So 9 months ago, we would look at a talent management process with a certain bent of mind, with a certain perspective. And we could still say, okay, I have the data with me, but I know how does this work. In today's state, we are looking at leaders and leadership who are performing at their best in the current scenario, where data is talking and they are ignoring their own points of views basis their pre-COVID experience. And that is not an easy choice for a leader to make. It's a courageous choice. So a leader is, in today's date, has to demonstrate that courage, that whatever my point of view is, if I can just keep it aside, see what the data is saying, whether it is customer feedback, employee feedback, and then take that call and marry it with my sales number and my profitability number, That is how, I can progress ahead. And this approach has worked for KFC. In the last 2 to 3 months, the kind and quality of sales momentum and customer feedback we get across multiple channels is truly amazing. In fact, we have customers coming back and saying, is there a way in which I can make repeat visits to KFC in such a manner so that I can bring more and more friends along, but we can sit perhaps more closer? So I will not put the entire onus on the government, but then just shows the interest, the drive, and perhaps everybody is in a way tired of being at home and they would like to go out, socialize. And KFC has become, let's say, one of the channels in which people can experience a better feeling, a good quality food, and at the same time being confident with the brand. So that's my point of view, how the journey has happened. And let me assure you, it's a great space to be in. And it is the time to reinvent. And yes, the RE words come in again, to reaffirm the faith in what we can do is only basis what our employees feel, think, and deliver. It is the person at the front line who delivers with that compassion and ambition. That is what I had to say. So thank you so much.
Excellent, excellent correlation between Y2K era and pandemic era, but with a very, very different perspective of the business risk. Business risk, that point of time was data risk. And here, not only data, we're talking about health risk, how to mitigate that. And I think the beautiful example you gave about the collaboration between consumers and your customers, how you kind of created the loop with your business, uh, basically confining the feedback. I think that was fantastic. I think Karanjit, you taught us so much, and I'm sure audience is pouring questions to us. I'm sure you've seen them by now, and some of them I felt you might have touched already. But let's hear from you, especially Tariq's second question. First question, I felt, what is the biggest challenge post COVID-19 to the industry on a whole? How is the travel industry rebuilding consumer trust and confidence? I think more or less that we have covered in your conversation. I think the second one is probably touched, but not in this term. What Tariq has asked is, what are the long-term measures to build resilience? I think you all talked about sustenance, but I think you are yet to really feel confident that whether you build something to sustain. So would you like to, any one of you would like to respond to this? Then I will pick up the next questions.
Sure, I could go, Rona. From the travel industry perspective, I think the kind of products or services that were being offered were very restricted to travel related products, like foreign exchange or a tour package, whether it's international or domestic, inbound or outbound. What we've done differently is to think of new products which would be more relevant in the times today, and keeping the sentiments of our customers in mind, where they're looking for some form of assurity, some kind of guarantee of their safety while they are traveling with us, right? So what we have done as an organization is that we have partnered with an insurance provider, and we're giving an assured safety package which goes along with the travel package that you would book with the organization. So an insurance product coupled with a travel product, giving them, one, the guidelines and, the whatever measures are required for them to complete their travel safely, whether it's an international travel, to the limited destinations that are right now open, versus any form of domestic travel as well. So those kind of sureties which go along with your regular product do help bring back the kind of consumer trust, as somebody was asking, because those are the small touch points that make the difference at this point in time, given the sentiment. And also, customizing products to make them more relevant today. So domestic travel, obviously, something that which may not have been the focus pre-COVID, but now is definitely something which is a focus, and therefore builds more avenues of sales for the organization.
Great
Runa,
point. Yes, yes, Sanchita.
see, Runa, what is the meaning of resilience? Resilience is the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties and toughness. Yes, so with that, if organizations really want to build resilience, then they will need to first be extremely agile, because this is your capacity to rebound back, which means there has to be a culture of celebrating failure. So you learn fast, fail fast, learn fast, fail fast. And to do that, this everything will only happen if there is this culture of agility, there is this culture of celebrating failure.
Absolutely.
And any plan, we are ready to say that, listen, we are not wedded to any plan. Anything that gives results is what we go after. And it is not who says it, but it is what is being spoken. So I think as long as organization starts building that, resilience will happen. And like we always say, that good habits are not formed by doing something once. Good habits are formed by doing the same thing every moment, every time. And in our parlance, and Karan will relate to it, we say every shift, every transaction, every day, every week, every month, so that's how habits get formed, and that's how resilience will get formed.
Fabulous. Sanchita, you also
Runa.
mentioned as your point 3, flexibility. And besides agility, you spoke how flexible, and now we are talking about remote work, mobile work, flexible work. I think that was another very strong point you mentioned besides what you mentioned right now. Kaustav, in fact, I am moving to another question which is very relevant to your world, which is by our very good friend Deepak Bharara. He's himself a very, very renowned CHRO and a great HR practitioner. And he's asked a question that the international borders are still closed and it may take another 1 year plus to get opened. What are the plans for hospitality sector to survive and thrive? Kaustav, it's a very strong question and I would love to hear from other panelists if time allows.
Runa, very interestingly, what we wanted to share with the whole panelist here and to the people who are listening, what has been the safest mode of travel today is air, right? People say that you need to maintain a 6-foot distance to ward off the virus. When you are inside an aircraft, irrespective if you are 6 feet away or 50 feet away inside an aircraft, it's the same air which moves in. Surprisingly, the air goes through 8-layer of HEPA filter, which no hospitals in the world can do it, what an aircraft does to you. Indian aviation, since the COVID, and Indians traveling all over the world, comprises of 18% of the world population who has traveled in the last 6 months. Do you know why? Interestingly, today the world has said the most disciplined travelers in the world are the Indians. Can you believe that? That we are the most disciplined travelers? We are the only nation who, without failure, puts a mask and a shield on face when you are traveling, may it be flying from Europe or US or going to a Vande Bharat flight. 1.5% of the travelers who have arrived in the Vande Bharat flight have been affected by COVID. 1.3% of the travelers who have traveled out of India during this COVID period are Indians. So maybe the scare factor, maybe the half the knowledge, or maybe the discipline, which we don't follow in our day-to-day lives when we were driving our cars and the bikes and other things have gone while we are traveling. So the mindset change has happened. The borders have been opening primarily because people are comparing India to other nations. Absolute 1.3, some few days back, I had 2 of my pilots from Sudan who were coming in, and he was very scared to tell me, Delhi has about 4 lakh COVID cases. I said, yes, absolutely. It had 4 lakh COVID cases and about 4,000 of them are affected. The total population of South Sudan is 4,20,000. So Delhi as a city had more COVID cases, and 4,000 people who are there now is nearly 1/10 of the total number of expats who are staying in Delhi. So when we start comparing any nation to India and go through the parameters and the numbers, it does not make sense. Absolutely doesn't make sense. Today, the world needs us. I don't know how much we need the world for. That's for sure. The Middle East were the first ones to open up India. Otherwise, there are 4 airlines in the Middle East which had completely collapsed. SOTC, Deepthi, you'll be there. You know how Emirates, Etihad, Qatar, Gulf Air, Air Arabia, Fly Dubai, all of them would collapse the moment India closes down again. So for them to survive, they need India. So you want to open the borders with India? Well, it's important. Europe is on the verge of collapse. They have opened up air bubbles with India. Thailand, a big market, which depended on China and India, had closed for Indians, and they were promoting Australian tourism, and the Australian government said no travel. Now they're saying, oh, forget it. For India, for next 2 years, there is no visa fee if you come to Thailand. So the fact remains is, our numbers, though it sounds very enormous, we have been, we get aghast seeing the numbers, so many people going down on COVID. It's not actually the truth. When you see the parameters against anywhere in the world, we are much controlled. The governments, the government bodies, the regulatory bodies all across are doing phenomenal businesses. Phenomenal things, the measures have been fantastic. Only thing is, because of media or the digital media not been there in the rural part of the country, we have not been able to reach out and show what we are doing in the country. The moment we do that, I can assure you, in next 90 days, you will see most of the part of the world opening up to India, at least from the travel part is concerned. And we are seeing that every 7 days, you see Mr. Puri, Mr. Hardeep Puri, who's the Civil Aviation Minister, giving us that this bubble has opened with this country. Number of flights have increased, and that's happening. That's the country we are in. Today, the world is again saying the most disciplined air traveler in the world are Indians. That's what I wanted to share with you.
How encouraging. I always say that we are great followers, but are we great leaders as a country? I think your words of wisdom has given us so much encouragement, and we are all talking about, bouncing back. And I think there's a question again on how do you stay relevant and bounce back. And all of you talked about usage of digital, virtual, online infrastructure to our advantage for learning, for developing, for responding. I think to this question, each one of you, if you can, probably give one-liner, considering the time, especially Tanushree, Karanjit, if you both can give some insight, and then I'll go back to Sanchita, Deepthi, Rishabh, where are you? I think I couldn't see you. So maybe Tanushree, Karanjit, Rishabh, all of you would little focus on the technology part and give some insight, because that's probably our ray of hope, as you mentioned. So each one of you comment, and I look for a couple of more answers if Chandan allows me to take few of them.
Oh, thank you, Runa. I think needless to say, there was a world where we were looking to the technology revolution. It's right here in front of our eyes, in our hands, on our screens. So I think Karanjan spoke very well. It's not just technology, it's the behavior of us as individuals that is also changing how we consume content, how we learn. All the L&D experts in the panel would agree that adult learning methods are different. There's another angle to it now, which is about what is the size of the content. Can we consume hours and hours of traditional ways? So as our environment changes, our learning changes. So these are, I think, to me, that these are the top 2 trends. We need to put learning in a more palpable form, and it has 2 aspects. One is audio visual, because as a lot of people would agree how books are dated versus when something engages all our senses. And the second is the size of the content, where our mind is constantly engaged on one feed, another feed, and this notification and that. People do not have the mental capacity at this moment to take very long content. So these are 2 things that we have to see. How can we make it engaging for people to learn? And unfortunately, it means reducing some of the aspects of traditional ways that all of us have grown and learned into.
Yeah, Karanjit, your 2 cents, please.
Sure. So I would just say YouTube did a lot of research on this topic, and they did it to the advantage for their own business, and it is a revenue generating business for them. They figured out a way in which whatever content is being shown through whomsoever, right? Appealing to any taste or to any generation. They would insert a forced ad of not more than 5 to 10 seconds. And the receptivity of the ad by itself was far higher, far greater than the actual topic. So, for example, let's say I'm a car enthusiast, and every week I watch a car show, which is what, 10 to 15 minutes long on a YouTube channel. And when I'm watching that, today I am forced to watch an ad for about 5 to 10 seconds long. Folks, believe it or not, with an attention span of barely 1 minute of watching so much of YouTube, right? I still remember that impression of the 5 to 10 second ad as compared to the 15-minute long video. So YouTube shared this across the board through Google, Microsoft, whatever, and just made a very simple reference point saying, whatever you do, keep it short. It doesn't need to be like a Steve Jobs kind of a huge display, right? To mix it up. So have virtual classrooms, don't talk for more than 1 or 2 minutes. That makes it difficult. How do you let somebody know of a huge concept in 2 minutes? Believe me, it's a very different world. Third, utilize the breakout groups. It is there in Zoom also. How do you utilize it? It's all there. A very different way of designing. Fourth, have shorter targeted learner modules. It needs to be really crisp, and not even WhatsApp gets it right. So it has to be done very quickly. And finally, keep people engaged. So I would have spoken, Runa, for 2 minutes. Would you believe it? Somebody who is the expert in designing an online course, that course will not last for more than 2 minutes. Forget LinkedIn Learning just for 2 seconds. And in these 2 minutes, there will be one poll, there would be one yes and no, and at the same time, there would be one virtual board within 120 seconds. And then gauge the learner feedback. Every learner understands it, irrespective of the background education qualification.
Absolutely, Karanjeet.
That is where the whole perspective has changed completely. So it's a blessing in disguise.
Wonderful, wonderful. I think we, as you rightly said, we are great innovators and we moved it to our advantage. Rishabh, we had a powerful conversation and time flew. So why not have a powerful end with your 2 cents? We have only 1 minute. Let's try to finish on time.
So it's a pleasure to see that technology coupled with L&D, we are seeing people at the entry level also completing Harvard Managed Mentor, and a general manager also doing a Harvard Managed Mentor program. So people have really fast-tracked, L&D definitely. And from a nice to have it in your key performance objective, I think now people are understanding the value of L&D, living the L&D. So I foresee a lot of talent in the near future from operations opting for a career in L&D. So that is also seemingly a possibility in the near future.
So thank you. I think the closing statement was really relevant and, as I said, powerful. So with that, I would love to thank each one of you. I have loads of takeaways as usual. It's fun to moderate and keep learning. With that, with great, my gratitude and thanks to each one of you, I hand it over back to Chandan. Over to you, Chandan, for the closing talk.
So yes, Runa, thank you so much. Am I audible to you?
You're audible, not visible.
Yeah, some network issues. So whenever there is a technology,
I think Chandan is facing some challenge. Ashish, would you like to do the closing statement?
So yes, I'm so sorry for the network issue over here, but that's it. I'll be being very quick. So thank you all esteemed speakers. A wonderful moderation done, Runaji, as always by you. And thanks to Ashish Moglu for inviting the eminent HR leaders from across the sectors of hospitality. such a nice, deliberation happened, and salute to all you HR leaders who are representing, your organizations. And I can see the vibrancy of the panel speakers, from travel to airlines to food and beverages and hospitality, and the kind of enlightenment and inputs which you have given from the best practices and the innovation. Reimagining and reshaping strategies from various streams has definitely, put a thought of structuring, reskilling, and ourselves, and be equipped, and just pray to God that we sail across safely. And so with that, thank you all, the speakers, and Runaji, to you as well. We'll keep on organizing such events every month, and again looking forward for engaging and inviting another sectors and segment of the industry, and bringing the HR leaders from across the country over here. So just stay safe and stay tuned to the HR community. Keep following our pages for the latest updates and happenings across. In the chat column, my team has just shared the social media links of Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook. So I would request everybody to please like, share, and comment over the sections, and stay safe, stay tuned. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye-bye.